B1 family, welcome to Black Logic. So we understand that Biden's black support has a great decline, and I label this as good because for one of the first time we've seen a vast movement in black people organizing and unifying, not having a monolithic mindset, but having a mindset is if you're not doing anything for the black community, but for everyone else, don't come to the black community for your vote. And this has trickled down even to those people who was hardcore Democrat. They were Democrat all the way, but we did be from the protections and the security that he has signed legislation, him and Obama. And as well, some things we're going to mention about Trump as well that I think some legislation that people are maybe not familiar with for the protections and the freedom of the LGBT community as well as other communities as well as Asians as too. So when we get into a lot of the information here today, family, what we're going to finally understand, because we're going to go through quite a bit of information for you guys to truly understand how the benign neglect of the Democratic Party has happened way before Obama. But I'm going to start from Obama, him being the so-called first black president without the black experience, of course. And this is a lot of things I think we need to relate to, that just because they put a black face in a high place does not mean that that person is for black people. They've been using that ever since the 60s, ever since Martin Luther King sat down with Lyndon B. Johnson and had discussion about the civil rights and all the things that our ancestors and forefathers did and did not do, and at the current time did not understand the trick bag. But there was a lot of scholars, a lot of black intellectuals, a lot of our master teachers, Neely Fuller, okay, Dr. Claude Anderson, Francis Krauss Wilson, who called these things out early on during these times. Even Dick Gregory called these things out. But now we see a sharp decline, a great decline in the black voter support for Joe Biden, and this is good. This is not to push people towards being a Republican. This is not to push people towards voting for Trump. This is to open the eyes of Black America and let them know, for once again, we have been fooled, tricked, and manipulated. And as Malcolm X said, that is because Black folk are politically immature, and we have not been understanding the construct in which we live in this political environment, and how we have been duped, we have been tricked, we have been fear-mongered to always vote Democrat, and it has not been beneficial. And then we've always been tricked to go voting, but it has not been beneficial. It has been beneficial for the LGBT community. It has been beneficial for the legal and illegal immigrants. It has been beneficial for the Jewish community. It has been beneficial for the Asian community, and it's been beneficial for people who are not even citizens of America. It's been beneficial for Ukraine. It has been beneficial for Israel. It's been beneficial for the people who are part of the foreign budget. It's been beneficial for a lot of people. So I want you to understand that when they were signing legislation to provide Black farmers with more funding and support. Now, even though the title of this, I know you guys can't see it, the title of this is Virginia Farmer Signed Off on Bill Gates, China Buying U.S. Farmland. And again, I believe this is a ploy to push Black people to vote Republican, because as the Black farmer who's kind of been the face of the Black farmers and, you know, the running support, he's going to call out the political spectrum who is in office, which is Biden and his cronies, who have done nothing for the Black community, just as well as the Black farmers, okay? It's more benign neglect, or I'm going to talk to you, I'm going to talk at you, but I'm going to do nothing for you. I want you guys to listen in here.
Our next guest is a Virginia farmer who lives near one of Gates's data centers. National Black Farmers Association President John Boyd Jr. joins us now. John, so great to have you on. So I'm sure you put a lot of thought into this. Why do you think Bill Gates is buying up all this land?
Well, one is greed, and it's running America's family farm is off family land. Basically, we can't buy the land once Bill Gates moves into the area. For example, his data center is right next door here, and since he's located in Boydton, Virginia, land prices have went through the roof, $15,000, $20,000 an acre. What farmer do you know that can pay that kind of money per acre,
Right.
off of anything that we can grow on the farm. He doesn't do anything when he comes into these areas to support community-based organizations or invest back into these communities. That's what's hurting America right now.
Yeah.
And what he's trying to do now in the food industry is the same thing that they've done
Uh-oh.
with seeds. You know, when they put genetically modified seeds in, and now he wants to do that with beef. But you know, America's farmers are proud farmers, and I'm asking Americans not to support fake meat, but to support farmers out here who grow.
And family, a lot of guys got to be very aware of the push with this black farmer is referring to. Bill Gates has bought over 278,000 acres of farmland. And what he's stating is they have these GMO sort of seeds that they're growing. So again, artificial and fake food, right? That's not grown from the earth, and organic, right? The word become very, very popular. Not only that, they have been creating and building laboratories to lab grow meat, like chickens without heads. But supposedly it's 100% chicken when they test these things. But these things are not quote unquote real meat. That's why he's stating that it's fake meat.
Grow beef like I do, and poultry and pork. Support America's farmers and not support Bill Gates and this mega theory and mindset that he has.
Yeah.
It's really called greed.
Yeah, no, and by the way, it's not just Bill Gates. The Chinese also gobbling up a lot
Absolutely.
of American farmland. You talked about pork. The Chinese own the biggest pork processing plant. Brazil does too, but China, I think, owns multiple of them. It's not good for our economy, and it's not good for the small farmer. You know, I'm thinking about all of these problems, right? They're trying to push synthetic meat on us. They're messing with the seeds, as you talk about, with these genetically modified seeds. And it doesn't appear that Congress or government is doing enough to stop China from buying the land, to stop Bill Gates from doing these things. So what should the people who are watching the show right now,
listen in
their response?
Now, listen in. After he pretty much blasted Bill Gates for buying up thousands of acres of land and creating fake meat, or assisting companies who are creating fake meats, rather. Now, listen in what he says about this administration.
Should they be buying up land? Should they be learning to farm so that they can secure, their own food supply for their own families?
Absolutely. And I just visited 39 townships around the country, urging small family farmers to start growing small plots of food in their backyard. Raise healthy foods that they know that are safe to consume. And if you grow it, and it tastes different from the food that you buy.
It does taste different.
It's fresh, it's good, it's wholesome. Those are the things that we're going to have to do. And if you can afford a new Mercedes-Benz or a Cadillac or SUV, you can afford 5 acres in the country, people. So start investing in rural America. Start supporting small family farmers around there. Guess what? They can start buying beef from a small scale farmer. You know, I raised 150 head of beef cattle here, and I can tell you right now, it's nothing fake about it. And I'm proud of the product that leaves Boyd's Farm. And all of our farmers right here in America feel the same way. And we see, and right now we're getting bullied by China and people like Bill Gates who are coming into our area. And you spoke about China. They come into these auctions and they have someone bidding for them. And again, they're buying these farms at auctions.
The question is, how is China have the liberty to come in and buy thousands of acres of U.S. farmland? I want you to look at the presidency. And again, I'm not pro-Trump. I'm not pro-Biden. I'm this black man giving you guys the information, okay? I want you to look at what was going on when Trump was in office when it came to the Chinese, and look what's going on in the presidency now that Biden's in office.
Running the prices through the roof with no oversight from this administration. And there's been no oversight, or I've requested meetings time and time again on your show to meet with the president and talk about these very, very important issues. And our requests have fell upon deaf ears. So far, there hasn't been
that part. He said he's requested to speak with the president many times, and his request, because he's kind of been the face of black farmers. He's been all over the news, all over the country, mapping out all the issues in all the different states that black farmers are going through, not being able to get funding, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But once again, it boils down to this administration. I know a lot of Democrats, I know a lot of Biden supporters gonna say, oh, well, these issues occurred before Biden. It actually happened under Trump. And then like, well, no, it didn't happen under Trump because he didn't really give it any attention. So did it happen under Obama? Because he signed this, what was the name of the bill he came out for infrastructure? It had farmers in there. And we're going to get into the numbers. I don't want to speak into conjecture. We're going to get into it.
Anything like that. But we're looking differently to hear from other candidates who want to reach out to us to see if they want our support.
I think this is one of the most important issues.
So he's now stating that they're looking out to other candidates to get their support when it comes to funding Black farmers and saving their farms, because as he stated before, over 278,000 acres of land Bill Gates has bought, as well as the Chinese. So essentially, you know, tech investors who creating lab-grown meat and people from a whole different country is buying up large amounts of farmland in America. Not only that, when farmers are looking to buy more farmland, the acres of land are astronomical because Bill Gates is paying top dollar, which raising the industry when it comes to the farmland that people are trying to buy to increase their farms. But let's go a little bit deeper here, family, because I think this is important. It states here in 2022, Black farmers were persistently left behind from the USDA loan system, okay? And this is what they're referring to. Let's get down here. Black farmers who have owned land for generations but may not know how to navigate USDA's process by virtue of the lack of support structure around them, they're going to come to the application process less prepared. So basically they're saying these guys don't know how to fill out loan applications because this heritage property, and they really never had to really apply for loans until now because of inflation, a lot of other economic factors. So this is important. But I want you guys to listen to this. In 2022, the department granted direct loans to only 36%. Let me blow it up. 36% of farmers who identified as Black. According to the NPR analysis of USDA data that looked at how many direct loan applications were accepted, rejected, or withdrawn per each racial group, direct loans are supposed to be among the easiest to get at the USDA. It's supposed to be the easiest. They are meant for farmers who can't get credit elsewhere and can be used to get land, farming equipment, or other operational costs needed to keep their business afloat, okay? Now, in contrast, 72% of white farmers who applied were approved, 72%, but only 36% of Blacks. Perhaps some of the biggest gaps in the loan demographics can also be seen in the rejection numbers, where 16% of Black farmers were rejected, the highest amount. The corresponding figure for white farmers were only 4%, okay? Now let's look at this. Here are the figures. When it comes to the approval rating, Blacks at only 36%, second to Asian Americans at 38%, and then we go down to Pacific Islanders and white, we're looking at 80% to 72%, but the highest rejection rate is 16%. It's 16%, and don't forget, family, don't forget what Joe Biden told Black people when he had his inauguration speech, that Black people had my back and I'm gonna have their back too. And he came out publicly of all the loan and grants he's gonna give Black farmers. This is not depicted here. This is not depicted here. And until this day, they're still coming out. Now, let me look at this. Let me look at this news report. What date was this news report? 11 days ago, okay? 11 days ago. So the information that's stated is from last year, but this is 11 days ago. So the money that was supposedly allocated from the infrastructure bill never got to Black farmers. Instead of that, this is what they get. Rejection at the highest amount is 16%, okay? That is what they receive. Now, Democrats keep getting new warning signs about Black voters. Why is that? Well, here's the thing. Ron DeSantis came out with an anti-stop woke, agenda, and it kind of backfired on him. You don't really hear him say it as much as anymore, but you have other candidates like Viveka Ramaswamy coming out. He even have a book about being anti-woke. Family. Don't let this quote unquote woke agenda confuse everybody what woke is. Don't forget woke is a term that Black people used back in the late 60s, early 70s stating being, mentally aware about the situation in the white supremacy country that we live in, understand the dynamics of the country we live in, and how Democrats or Republicans both play black people either not to vote or to vote for a particular party and receive nothing in return. Stating that this country is not a racist or discriminatory country where black people have the highest anti-crime numbers according to any other race. But we know that COVID-19 anti-Asian hate crime bill has posed Asians and now anti-Semitic when it comes to Jews as being the victims of hate crimes in America. And this is still untrue today. If you guys go to FBI.explorer.com, you will see that black Americans are still the most hated, the most discriminatory, the most victims when it comes to hate crimes. But I digress. Let's get back into it. Now, it says black voters continue to be loyal to Democrats. Why? Why we continue to be loyal to a group who has not been loyal to us? That is our problem. We continue to give our vote and expect nothing in return. And now people in Chicago, New York, Arizona, Texas, now you understand what's going on. Now you understand the benign neglect policies of the Democratic Party way even before Obama. Okay, but now they're depending on the black vote, but they're not getting it. And don't change our tune, Black America, unless something tangible is on the table. We should not be changing our tune. Let me move on here. It states that Democrats are about to find out. Okay, they fucked around and now they're about to find out. They fucked around and now they're about to find out. And they're worried. They need to be about black voter support, okay? It states here, President Joe Biden's approval rating with black voters has dropped disproportionately compared with white voters, and the polls show driving down his overall numbers. Absolutely. I hope it continues to decline. Instead of stop woke, stay woke, okay? Not the whole LGBTQ, transgender, no. What woke really means. What woke really means when it comes to black folk. And we understand that the word woke, when used by the left and the light, are just racial trope words to replace instead of just saying, stop black people. Stop black people from being aware of their conditions. Yeah, we flooded their communities with drugs, back in the 70s, 80s, early 90s. Now, as I showed you on my other video, family, we are now the face of the fentanyl crisis. Not only were the victims, but we're also the dealers as well. Even though these drugs are coming from India and China and by the way of the Mexican cartels, but somehow, once again, black people, just as well as crack cocaine. How did that get in the black community? Were there, it was only like one black guy that went over to Vietnam or Asia. You know the story. I think it's Frank Lucas. You know the story. But nonetheless, other than that, family, we know how crack cocaine got introduced and pushed into the black community, okay? So these things we have to be very, very aware. It states here, black support for Democrats has been slipping slightly for the better part of a decade since Barack Obama, the country's first mixed president, was the last on the ballot. Because you know what? A lot of black people, when Obama became president, and when he was running his first term in 2008, everybody voted. I voted, you voted, he voted. And then after that 4 years, we were like, wait a minute, what did Obama do for black people? A lot of us was asking ourselves these questions, and we came out with jack and nothing. So the second term, it started being a very sharp black voter decline because we noticed we wasn't receiving any support from Obama. And don't forget the comment that Obama made when asked the question, why haven't you passed any legislation to the black community? Why haven't you proposed reparations for descendants of chattel slavery when it comes to black Americans? Why haven't you done that? And he said basically he was afraid of white guilt. Look it up. Not making it up, family. I'm not making it up. It states here the steepest drops for Democrats were among black voters in the millennial and the Gen Z generations. Okay, if the baby boomers can't do it, if Generation X can't do it, maybe the millennials, Generation Z, and Generation Y can do it. These are the people who are now standing up and fighting like, ho, 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 ho. You mean to tell me Generation X and the baby boomers let this go past for this long? As long as you get a fish fry, at last you get a pat on the head, at last you get a thank you, at last they put you in a car from a ride along, now you want to continue to vote Democrat? How has it paid out for us? It has not. It states that from 91% to 2020, in 2020 to 84%. Then it says black men, 87%, declined down to 83%. Black voters in rural areas, 84% to 80%, and black voters without a college degree, 91% to 87%. So all across the board, educated, non-educated, rural areas, city areas have a sharp decline when they're looking at the numbers across the board. And they're just afraid that the orange man is going to win the presidency yet once again. And I don't care. And I believe this is good because it's showing that we're now understanding what's going on here in America when it comes to Black Americans. Those are descendants of slaves, those foundational Black Americans, those U.S. freedmen. It states here, it says, will Democrats' policy cause Black voters to stay home or choose a third party in 2024? I say stay home. Yeah. Our ancestors, forefathers, they fought for the right for us to vote, and they fought for the right for us not to vote. Unless something is on the table, family, why we continue to vote for a party that continue to support each and every other group? That's the question I have for you guys. That's the question I have for you guys, because when it comes to it says loyal Democratic constituency, Black voters who rescue, listen to this, Black voters, maybe you can't see it, Black voters who rescued President Joe Biden's sputtering 2020 campaign in South Carolina primary. It was Georgia who gave Democrats control of the U.S. Senate. Then Black Chicagoans voted overwhelmingly for Governor J.P. Pritzker re-election. So he was saved by the Black communities in South Carolina and Georgia and the illustrious, infamous Chicago. And Chicago, how's that turning out for you guys? I'm not trying to be divisive, but how's it turning out for you? Because I've shown many a times how Black Chicagoans, not just toward the mayor, but even to President Biden stating, wait a minute, why you have these catch and release policies? Why you have this DACA programs, Dreamer programs, DAPA programs? You have all these programs for people who are illegally in the country. For people who are illegally in the country, and that is a big smack in the face to Black Americans. Are we awake yet? Are we awake yet? I hope that we awake, family. I hope that we awake, because I don't want this message to fall on deaf ears. No. I want you guys to hear for yourself. I really want you guys to hear for yourself.
Proud of the campaign we built and ran. I'm proud of the coalition we put together. The broadest and most diverse coalition in history. Democrats, Republicans, independents, progressives, moderates, conservatives, young, old, urban, suburban, rural, gay, straight, transgender, white, Latino, Asian, Native American. I mean it, especially those moments. And especially for those moments when this campaign was at its lowest ebb.
Listen.
The African-American community stood up again for me. You've always had my back, and I'll have yours.
Uh-oh. What did I hear? Hold on. I messed that up, fam. Let me get that back. I think you guys need to hear that once more.
My fellow Americans.
I think you need to hear that this once more. Can we hear that once more? Let me get this back queued up. Let me get this queued up again. Let me get this queued up. Give me a second. Because this message is very important, because he told the Black American community, he said, you had my back and I'm going to have yours. How has he had Black Americans back? Have you seen all the billions of dollars he sent to all these other countries?
Proud of the campaign we built and ran. I'm proud of the coalition we put together. The broadest and most diverse coalition in history. Democrats, Republicans, independents, progressives, moderates, conservatives, young, old, urban, suburban, rural, gay, straight, transgender, white, Latino, Asian, Native American. I mean it, especially those moments, and especially for those moments when this campaign was at its lowest ebb. the African-American community stood up again for me. You've always had my back, and I'll have yours.
This is a joke. Family, let me tell you, Joe Biden lied to the Black American community over and over again, and he has shown nothing but neglect and ignorance to Black Americans, okay? Because we're going to get into, we're definitely going to get into a lot of the legislation that that good old Joe has passed for everybody else. I had to do a whole dissertation on this because it's just so much, family. It's just so much that he's done for other groups, okay? And we're going to get into this. We're going to get into this. Now, and this is from Obama. So we're looking at 2009 to 2017. Obama signed the Don't Ask, Don't Tell, Repeal Act of 2010. Okay, and these first set of legislation and executive orders is for the benefit of the LGBT community. And I know that the LGBT community involves people from all walks of life, all religious background, as well as all races. But we're going to point out how he's targeting certain communities, except for the community that he just stated had his back, that they had his back, they came through when nobody else did. 87% of Black Americans voted Joe Biden in for him to be president to do absolutely nothing. So the Don't Ask, Don't Tell repealed after 2010. Don't forget that. That was to allow gay and lesbian individuals to serve openly in the military. And I've been hearing a lot from our military buddies that they're now paying for transitional surgeries for transgender or part of, people part of that community. That's astounding. What else do we have? What about the federal law that expanded the hate crimes statute to include offenses motivated by a victim's sexual orientation or gender identity? When I talk to some of my quote unquote Democratic friends, they tell me that Black Americans, as well as all Americans, have protections under the law, that we have all this legislation that protect people from all walks of life. And I said, well, if that is the case, why is there all this additional legislation that has been written and proposed and introduced, and some have been passed for all these other groups? And we're going to comb through them, family. We're going to comb through them. I'm going to try to be as quick as I can, but it's so much. It's so much. We're still dealing with the LGBT community. What about the Hate Crime Prevention Act that was enacted on June 26 in 2013? That's the one I just read. The Supreme Court ruling in Obergefell versus Hodges, the Supreme Court, in a landmark 5-4 decision, ruled that the fundamental right to marry is guaranteed to same-sex couples by both the Dual Process Clause and the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The executive order that Barack Obama signed, advancing LGBT community rights and empowering individuals and communities. It says here that issues on January 20, 2017, this executive order prohibited federal contractors from discriminating against employees based on their sexual orientation or gender identity. And here's the thing I want you guys to be very, very familiar with. No one essentially knows that anyone is gay unless they act or say or be a particular way. But when you're Black, you're Black. Yeah, I mean, you can put on white face all you want. That good old melanin is going to shine through. That's what I'm getting at. Let me move on. When it came to Trump, every piece of legislation for the LGBT community, like the memorandum on preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation, this was back in 2017. It states that this memorandum instructed federal agencies to consider gender identity to be a protected characteristic under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, prohibiting employment discrimination based on gender identity. So Trump chimed in as well. That's why I say when people are trying to demonize the Democratic Party and trying to push people to the Republican Party or to vote for Trump, I tell you, white supremacy they're just two different parties on the same coin. When you look at the Republican and the Democratic Party and what they have passed, and this is a lot of legislation that, regular basic Americans going about their day, you're just kind of looking at the news, you're looking at CNN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, and sometimes when you want to get some chuckles, you look at Fox, right? Here's another one. Department of Justice filing in the Bostock versus Clayton County. It states here, in a June 2020 filing, the Department of Justice argued that the Title VII prohibition of discrimination based on sex encompasses discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. We're talking about cases. Now, when it came to Biden, he tried to pass the Equality Act in 2021. That failed to pass through the Senate. He also had an executive order ensuring respect for gender identity and sexual orientation. He passed legislation for you to respect people's gender identity and sexual orientation. How can he tell the American people to respect somebody's decision? Again, family, it states here, protecting the rights of the LGBTQ individuals and directed federal agencies to take steps to prevent and combat discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. And family, I'm not against none of this legislation. I'm not. I'm just showing you a plethora. I'm going down through a plethora of legislation that Obama, Trump, and now Biden has passed. So I'm telling you, unless something's on the table for Black Americans, descendants of slaves, I'm opting out. And here's the thing about opting out the political process, because a lot of people would like to beat me up. They would say, oh man, we should at least vote for somebody. We should take the lesser of two evils. No, we've been doing that and we've been getting nowhere. Here's the thing about the strategy of not voting until something's tangible on the table. It's going to have both political parties worried. Why? Anytime a large group of people opt out of the country's political process, the first thing they're thinking about is revolting, rebellion, okay? Uprising. That's what they're thinking. Oh, wait a minute. They're not even playing the game anymore. Black folk are not even playing the game anymore. They say, you know what? Forget it. I'm not doing it anymore. And guess what we're going to start doing? We're going to start to unify and organize even more so than we ever have before. And that's what we need to be doing, family. Because this dude right here, he's not it. Let me tell you why. Let me move on here. What about the Gender Expression Non-Discrimination Acts? Let me give you guys some evidence here. This is coming from the United States Agency of International Development, okay? International Development, advancing LGBTQI inclusive development. And it states here that the USAID supports the enactment of robust protections, inclusion, and human rights for all LGBTQI plus individuals through inclusive development. Now, I want anybody who is pro-Democrat or pro this, I want you to give me the equivalency of legislation, a bill, an executive order for Black people, for Black folk. That's what I want you to do. I want you to give me the equivalence of legislation, of support on these government websites. See, I like to go to government websites because you really can't argue when I show you these things. When you go to Wikipedia and you go to maybe Pew Research, every now and again, people may try to combat this, but combat this. That's what I want you to do, combat it. What about this? In 2019, the human rights law was amended through the Gender Expression Non-Discriminatory Act, called GENDA, to explicitly add gender identity or expression as a protected category. Once again, we have another group has been protected. It says discrimination on the basis of gender identity or expression is prohibited in all areas covered by the human rights law. And when we look at this, again, some people say, well, these protections and these regulations and laws were already given to the American citizens by the way of the Constitution and some other legislation that fell thereafter. But why are we continue to keep writing legislation like this if it's true? And why aren't Black Americans a protected class yet if we have the most hate crimes against us? Go look it up. We have the most hate crimes against us, but every other group gets protection except for us. See, that's where we fall short at, because we continue to go put on the cape for Democrats. We continue to put on the cape for Republicans, and we receive nothing in return. But let's move on. Let's move on to my favorite topic of this year, illegal immigration, right? So Obama, don't forget Obama. He passed the DACA, which is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, okay, DACA, announced by President Obama. Let me make sure I said Obama, not even Obama. Well, I tell you, Let's look at this, family. Deferred action for childhood arrivals. Okay, for childhood arrivals. This was passed on June 15th of 2012. One of his, major legislation. It says that DACA is an executive order that provides temporary relief from deportation and work authorization to undocumented immigrants who have arrived in the United States as children. They arrived in the United States as children. And this is once again to keep them in place and to become citizens. See, this, believe it or not, family, the reason why this is a piece of large legislation is because this essentially goes against the Constitution. The Constitution basically states, I'm paraphrasing, basically states that people who are born in the United States of America are U.S. citizens. This doesn't say this. This stating that anyone who comes to the United States, okay, as a child has protection, okay, even though you got to go through some paperwork, but you have protection and you can become a citizen. That's basically what this is. But listen to this. They doubled down, family. Yeah, they doubled down. What about this one? Deferred action for parents of Americans in lawful permanent resident recession. So now that your kids ain't you in the country, right? We're talking about illegal immigration. DACA allowed the children to stay who were undocumented, meaning illegal. Now, Obama, he wrote other legislation called DAPA, okay, to coincide with DACA for the parents of these illegal children that are over here to stay in the country, okay? Because this particular legislation was announced on November 2014, and this would have expanded the DACA program to include undocumented parents of U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents. And they said that this program was actually blocked by the Supreme Court in 2016. If you see here, they say that the rescinded memo purported to provide a path for illegal aliens with a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident child to be considered for deferred action. Okay, but like I said, that this did not pass. And we're going to go over the Immigration and Nationality Act of 2013. We'll get on that. Now, when it came to Trump being in office, there was a couple of legislation that was proposed. One was called PRIDE. You guys remember PRIDE? Protecting young immigrants from deportation. Protecting young immigrants from deportation. It says that this was introduced by a Republican named Hatch. This bill aimed to provide a pathway to citizenship for DACA recipients. However, the bill did not advance in the Senate. I wonder why. Trump was in office. Stop the surge at the border. Save lives after 2019. Stop the surge. Now, as I told you before, that first legislation was proposed by a Republican. Listen to this. Stop the surge at the border. Saves lives after 2019. This Republican, David Perdue, in 2019, it says the bill aimed to address the surge in the asylum seekers at the U.S.-Mexican border. The bill passed the Senate, but not the House of Representatives, because he was trying to stop all these illegal immigrants from coming in. But, black people, 87%, we voted Democrat. And if we would have foreseen the future, I'm pretty sure a lot of us, this would have voted Republican to stop this onslaught of the black community of illegal immigrants coming in and soaking up all the resources. Now the Biden administration, when it comes to illegal immigrants, American Dream and Promise Act of 2021. Now, this bill passed the House, but not the Senate, but this bill was to provide a pathway to citizenship for DACA recipients and the other undocumented immigrants who came to the United States as children. So everybody gets their citizenship when it comes to President Biden and President Obama. I'm just letting you guys know, because now people in these border states, people in these sanctuary cities are now crying foul. Okay, are now crying foul. I want you guys to think about that, because, we don't need a border wall. That's such a right-winged sort of narrative. We don't need a border wall. Now people are like, wait a minute, we might need that wall you guys was talking about to slow some of this down. okay? America is not being America no more. It's kind of being all these other different things, okay? What about the U.S. Citizen Act of 2021? It says, introduced in the Senate by Senator Bob Menendez, Democrat, in 2021, this comprehensive immigration reform bill aims to modernize the U.S. immigration system, expanded legal immigration pathways, and address the issue of undocumented immigration. And for those people who sit in the back of the class, anytime they say undocumented, they mean illegal. They mean illegal. But what about some of the executive orders that President Biden has passed? DACA, DAPA, protecting dreamers from deportation. And then those were Obama's, these are Biden's. Protecting dreamers and temporary protected status holders 2021. Preserving and fortifying DACA. Listen to that one. This is executive orders. Preserving and fortifying DACA. Comprehensive immigration reform for American children 2021. These are all the things that the Democrats have been supporting, except for Black Americans, especially the lineage-based reparations claim. They have totally took that off the table. They're not talking about the things that Black Americans want the most, who are owed the most, and who need the most. If we have such a large gap when it comes to every other demographic in America, when it comes to a large gap when it comes to wealth, why aren't reparations on the table? If Black Americans are below and at the poverty level, why aren't reparations on the table? If Black Americans have the most hate crimes committed against them and them being the victim, why aren't a protective class status on the table? If we get most police brutality, violence from the race soldiers with badges towards Black Americans, why haven't they wiped away qualified immunity? Ask yourself these questions. But you continue to vote Democrat day in and day out because I'm always going to vote for the lesser of two evils. And you just can't fathom not voting, right? You can't fathom not voting, right? You just got to go do it. I got to go cash my ticket. I got to go do it. That's what my mom said. That's what my ancestors died for. Again, family, it's the right. Now, the Asian American community, and none of this is to be divisive, but this is to point out the neglect that the Biden administration, the Trump administration, the Obama administration, because here's the thing. Some of you are going to say, well, I have to vote Democrat because if I don't vote Democrat, then the Republicans are going to win yet again. Okay, family, let me ask you this question. What happened to you when President Trump was in office? Now, I know a lot of people who own businesses, Black men, Black women, you're going to say you got a lot of tax deductions, a lot of tax benefits. So a lot of you are kind of on the fence about who you're going to vote for, but a lot of you kind of leaning towards your business now. And I understand, vote for your best interest. But when we look at things as a group, as a strong, intelligent, beautiful Black community, the one thing we don't see is support from the Democratic Party. So we're going to start leaning towards our best interests. For people like me, you're waiting for something on the table. For other people, you're looking at your business. You're like, Republicans got a lot of good things when it comes to business. I ain't going to let nobody know I voted Republican, but here's my ticket. That's essentially what's happening. But anyway, when it comes to the Asian American community, Obama signed a bunch of executive orders that I'm not going to go over. But one of the major legislation when it came to Obama, okay, because I can kind of point out the things that was proposed during the Trump administration, like the Anti-Asian Hate Crime Act of 2020, that did not pass, okay? That did not pass at all. Combating hate crimes of the Act of 2020, that did not pass as well. Well, when good old Joe came to office, COVID-19 Hate Crime Act of 2021. So let me tell you what he did. He took the word Asian out of the bill. He took the word Asian out of the bill for people to go ahead and support this. That's what that happened, family. He took Asian out of the bill for people to vote this in. And some of you are like, hey, this ain't about no damn Asian. This is about COVID-19. Well, let's get into it. It states here the act may be cited as a COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act but look into the findings. Following the spread of COVID-19 in 2020, there has been a dramatic increase in hate crimes and violence against who? Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. According to a recent report, there were nearly 3,800 reported cases of anti-Asian discrimination and incidents related to COVID-19 between March 19th, 2020 and February 28, 2021 in all 50 states and DC. And I just wanted to point some things out to you, family. Aton Asian and Pacific Islanders, Asian, and Asian. Where is this for everybody else? I do declare, where is the protection for everybody else? That people say, oh, no. The COVID-19 Act, that was for everybody. Well, I'm looking at people who are from Asian descent. They actually listed a couple of people's names in here. I know you guys see that. So this is what I did. I love to just kind of do a search, a little find very quick. I'm in the top left corner. I know it's small, but I'm typing in the word black, family. Oh, it's red. The word black is not in here. It's red. Okay, maybe they didn't call us black. Maybe they call us African. Oh, it's red. But let me go back and let me type in Asian. Oh, it didn't turn red. And then let me just highlight. Oh, there it is. Let me get this out of here. There it is. So when people tell you that this bill didn't specifically protect Asian Americans, they're lying. They're absolutely lying. There's no other racial group in here except for Asian American Pacific Islanders. Well, let me check white. Let me check white. I might even check Hispanic. I may be wrong. White, red. Hispanic, did I spell that right? Red. So yeah. So when people tell you this, when they look at these hate crime and these bills that a lot of these people are proposing, they're lying. They're absolutely lying. And then when it comes to executive orders, Biden signed addressing anti-Asian American and Pacific Islander hate crimes. And this was issued January. And it stated that this executive order directed federal agencies to take steps to address anti-Asian hate crimes. Take steps to address anti-Asian hate crimes. That's what this did. Addressing hate crimes against Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. That's what this did. And a lot of times people say, well, who was in office? Who controlled the Senate? Who controlled the House? Who controlled it? Who controlled the House? The Democrats. We know where this legislation is coming from. Yeah. We know where this legislation is coming from. Let's go back here. I want someone to give me the equivalency of legislations, bill, federal support listed on website of them specifically stating Black Americans, African Americans, not minority, not people of color, not underserved communities, not dilapidated areas, not urban communities. I want them to say exactly what they're saying here. I wanted it to say addressing hate crimes against Black Americans and those who identify as African Americans. Give me something like that. Can someone find that for me? Because I tried. I couldn't find it, family. I just couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. Somebody help me. Maybe I need a little bit of help. But let's move on to the Hispanic community, right? Now, a lot of the legislation that I went over when it came to immigration also applies to Hispanics as well, okay? They have a rapid increase of population. I think the last time I looked, it was around 19 or 20%. And what we need to understand is that 19 to 20% supposedly are legal, immigrants are legal in the country. But what's occurring because of all the legislation that have been passed for illegal immigration has fast-tracked them to a pathway to get their citizenship and residency. So these coincide with one another, okay? So here's something. The White House Initiative on Advancing Educational Equity, Excellence, and Economic Opportunities for Hispanics, accepted in 1990, and guess what good old Joe did? Yep, he reestablished that in 2021. And it states here it's a multi-agency working group within the Department of Education, And what does it do? Advance educational equity, increase opportunities for Hispanic Americans to participate in federal education, strengthen the nation's capacity to provide high quality education. That's what it does. That's what it does. And if you notice, have you guys noticed you don't see people of color, minorities? You see it specifically for them, right? You see it specifically for them. Now, he made one for the African American community, but when you dive into the bill, there's no dollar signs. There are intangibles. It's just a bunch of verbiage, word salad. He's talking out the side of his neck. Again, family, if we're not waking up, this should be the time of awakenings. Okay? This should be the time of awakenings because this is a big slap in the face to Black Americans, and it should be. And this is good for us. This is good. Sometimes we just need an old-fashioned ass whipping, right? You know how sometimes your kids are running around, you keep telling them to stop, 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 and keep running around, tell them stop, 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 and they don't listen until they get that ass whooping. This is the political ass whooping that Black Americans need. Oh, yeah. Benign neglect, ignorance, deciding not to talk your mouth. If you don't vote for me, you're not Black. All these are great for us because we need to wake the hell up. And shout out goes out to Ron DeSantis for doing the whole stop woke thing. No, we're going to stay woke, bruh. We're going to stay woke. Okay, so let's get back into it. Here we go. Here's another. U.S. Citizen Act of 2021 was sent to Congress by President Joe Biden. This bill includes the following provisions. Provide a path to citizenship for undocumented people. That means illegal. Deferred action for childhood, and we come down here, immigration reform. Reform the family and employment-based immigration. Employment-based immigration. What does that mean? Employment-based immigration backlogs. Then it goes back to the extend the INA, that's the Immigration National Act, protection against employment discrimination on the basis of national origin or citizenship status to all employment authorized workers. What? Protection against employment discrimination on the basis of national origin and your citizenship status. So, correct me if I'm wrong, is he stating that employers should not discriminate against people based on their citizenship status? So, I shall hire you if you are a legal immigrant? Is that what they're saying? Because that's very broad and it's very vague. And this is the reason why you got all of these lawyers who are politicians. They know exactly what to write and what not to write. Because depending on your citizenship status, let me move this up a little bit. Depending on your citizenship status, you don't even have to be a citizen, and America won't discriminate against you, even though you're illegally in the country. I want you to think about that dynamic. You're illegally in the country, then the federal government enacts legislation that allows you to work illegally. I want you guys to go to some other countries. Yeah. I want you to enter their borders illegally. See if you can do that. Once you pass their borders illegally, I want you to go find a job. That's what I want you to do. I want to see how that turns out for us. Let me move on, guys. It's a lot coming. Then I'm going to move to Jewish Americans, AKA Holocaust survivors. And this is not to be divisive. This is giving you facts over fiction, okay? Because I know during this time, a lot of people, things that are occurring with the Israeli state and Jewish Americans and Jews and, anti-Semitic and anti-Palestinian and pro this and pro that. I get it. But this is to display the support from this government, from Obama to Biden, and how Black Americans have literally been left out of the conversation until it's time to vote. Black Americans, we're gonna need y'all to come in on this. So let's do a couple of things to suffice Black Americans. Let's appoint Ketanji Brown to the Supreme Court. That's a black face in a white place. Black people are going to like that symbolism. Well, no. We're not going to do anything for Black Americans that's tangible, something they can hold. No, we're not going to slow down immigration. And no, we're not going to stop dropping off illegal immigrants in the Black community, in these sanctuary cities. No. We're not going to do none of that. No. But what we're going to do, we're going to appoint a Black woman to the Supreme Court. Well, Joe Biden, how does that help Black people? Well, they got a Black person in the Supreme Court. Well, we had, what's this guy's name up there? not Ben Carson. What's the black guy? Clarence Thomas. We got Clarence Thomas up there. What has he done for Black America? Absolutely nothing. Well, we got a black woman as the vice president. There are some reparations for you. Well, when she was in California, she identified as an Indian woman. And then, by the way of Howard University and her being a Delta or AKA, whatever sorority she in, that's how she identifies as being black. But where's the black support? Where's that Lift All Act that never came out that was supposed to have been for black people? It would help the majority of black people. Yeah. How that turned out. But anyway, I digress. Let's move on. Let me blow this up for all you guys to see, because this is actual legislation, family. It's called Never Again Education Act. So what is this about? The Never Again Education was signed into law by the United States Congress in 2020. And this act provides $10 million of funding for Holocaust education in the United States of America. So states are eradicating Black history while the federal government is funding for you to learn about the Holocaust and what the Jews went through. But they don't want you guys to talk about slavery. Oh, no, we so tired of slavery. It happened so long ago. What about Jim Crow? Wasn't that during the same time and even after when the Holocaust essentially occurred? So yeah, give them their money, have Americans in the world know about the Holocaust, okay, one of the horrible tragedies of the world. But what about the other horrible tragedy of the world of people who are non-immigrants to this country? What about U.S. freedmen and Foundation Black Americans? What about our history that has been erased and eradicated? And a lot of things have been changed. I know in Texas, they saw a change in the words from slaves to laborers. Remember Ben Carson got on TV talking about when people came over here on ships, he basically was acting as these ships was cruise liners. But this is what's going on, family. This is how these administrations support all these other groups except for us. Let me move on. This is great. Oh, this is great. Passing this bill by unanimous, that means Republican and Democrat, consent today as a strong message that Congress is overwhelmingly united in combating anti-Semitism and hate through education. What about combating anti-hate towards Black people and funding Black education and funding Black history? What about that? What about that? And it states down here, the new law expands education programming about the Holocaust nationwide, allocating $2 million annually through the USHMM. And it goes on to double down and triple down. 943 bill summary expands the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum education program to teachers across the country. Let me pull this up. Requiring the museum to develop and disseminate accurate, relevant, accessible resources to improve awareness and understanding of the Holocaust and educate individuals. No one is telling them that happened such a long time ago. No one. No one is telling them that happened such a long time ago. That's not going on here, family. Absolutely not. Let me move on, because I think I need to double down. What about when Obama was in office? Did you guys forget about this? He awards $12 million for assistance to Holocaust survivors. We still have survivors from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I can go back to something even more recent. I can go back to the Rodney King riots, okay? And all the Black people. I can go back to the 60s, the 70s, where all those riots against Black people, people getting killed, and even in the 20s where Black people were getting hung. But my point is this. $12 million each and every year to support the survivors and their families. That means descendants. That means that this will never end. This is reparations, in my opinion, for those Holocaust survivors that came here. And I'm not hating. I'm not being divisive. I'm not being what they would like to label anybody who speaks of these things anti-Semitic. No, I'm giving correlation and reference of where's the reparations for Black Americans? Where is the money? You see what I'm saying? So the term that Jason Black coined, cut the check. Yeah. Cut the check, because you're cutting the check for everybody else. Ukraine, $150 billion. And I'm gonna show you some other things here too, family. But look at this. Look at this. The approximate 2.5 million per year over the 5 years will support 4.1 million in programming annually. Okay, annually. Let me blow this up. I want to make sure everybody sees it. Let me move on here. What about this one? These are our mothers and fathers, our teachers and our mentors, he said. They deserve to live their remaining years in dignity, and this award will help them make that a reality. So they're giving money directly to Holocaust survivors and their families in order for them to what? Let me get it right. To live their remaining years in dignity. That is what's going on, family. It comes down here, it says some 130,000 Holocaust survivors are living in the United States according to U.S. government estimates, okay? But let's triple down on this again. House approves $14.5 billion in assistance for Israel as Biden vows to veto the GOP plan. More money to Israel, more money to Jewish Americans. I'm not hating. I'm not against it. The only thing I'm saying is if America has all this money, but we are what? I haven't even looked at the debt calculator. I'm pretty sure we're probably $34, $35 trillion in debt, but we're still forking out money to everybody else except Black Americans. It says here the House approved $14.5 billion in military aid Thursday for Israel, a muscular U.S. Response to the war with Hamas, but also a partisan Republican and Democrat approach by new Speaker Mike Johnson that poses a direct challenge to Democrats and President Joe Biden, okay? In departure from norms, yada, 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 but you get my drift. Lastly, here we go. Lawmakers seek 1.5 million increase, 1.5 million increase in survivor aid funding for Holocaust survivors. So we was already getting like, the $4 million a year for Holocaust survivors, but a lot of people thought this was short term. Somebody put me in the comments when I first did this video, I think a year or two ago, like, oh no, that's just temporary, that's just for 5 years. Oh, it is? It's only for 5 years? Well, let's get into it. If it's only for 5 years, let's talk about it. If it's only for 5 years, let's talk about it. More than 100 House lawmakers are calling for a boost in funding for the Holocaust Survivor Assistance Program. I would like to label that as reparations. Thank my mod, Jermaine Anderson. Thank you for putting in the hard work, brother. I do appreciate it, okay? As well as elderly victims of other traumatic events. Yeah, we know where the money's going to. Let me move down here, family. Let me see if I can move this over a little bit. Let me see here. It's going to get a little bit small. It says the subcommittee itself to boost funding to $10 million. The subcommittee supported that funding level in its 22 and 23 draft appropriations bill. Why is this important? It's important because when I go over the numbers here, you're going to understand what I'm getting at. Here we go. It states here, a letter sent by, I'm right here, family. I'm right here. A letter sent by 111 bipartisan members to leaders of the House Appropriations Committee, Labor, Health and Human Services, Education, and Related Agencies Subcommittee last week and obtained by the Jewish Insider calls for $10 million in funding for the program in 2024, up from $8.5 million for this year. The Biden administration has proposed holding funding at $8.5 million for the next year. This is what you call ongoing support for Holocaust survivors and their descendants. I bullshit you not. This is money that people who are not citizens of this country that are receiving. And it really don't matter. We're mapping down all these different groups that are getting funding by the federal government, by the way of Joe Biden. But when it comes to us, he tells Black Americans, kick rocks until I need you again to vote for me for yet again another 4 years. And, I've heard some controversial things about Joe Biden, his age. I'm not into age discrimination, but they did say his health is declining. He's no longer speaking as once he did, when he first took office. So his health is in decline as far as his age, I guess. But there's just things I want you guys to understand what's going on here. That no matter the party, unless tangible things are on the table for Black Americans, in my opinion, we should really be opting out the political process. And I know some of you have your own stance on why you'll be voting, and I totally understand. But for a lot of us who have been voting and been voting Democrats, and we've been voting Democrats because of our parents and our parents' parents, and they get all riled up. They try to fearmonger you about the Republican Party and how racist they are and how this and how that. And all the while, both political parties, in my opinion, are part of the system of white supremacy. Is it that one gives you attention and talks to you nicely, but does nothing for you, while the other one just kind of ignores you, And every now and again they say, hey, you voting Democrat, what has that done for you? Well, you guys are racist. No. The question was, you voting Democrat, how has that helped the Black communities? How has that helped neighborhoods and urban areas? The infrastructure. We still, to this day, family, have Black cities that don't have drinking water. That don't have drinking water. Like they can't even take showers with their drinking water because it's toxic. But there was reports that came out say, remember Obama showed up, I think it was Flint, Michigan or somewhere, and he was drinking the water. Now he didn't drink none of that contaminated water, okay? But anyway, and they're going to give you a bunch of symbolism. They're going to put a lot of Black people on camera. They're going to probably do no voking, no bucking. Y'all remember no voking, no bucking? Can I show that very quickly? They were basically telling Black women, if Black men don't vote Democrat, then you should not give them sex. Y'all think I'm lying? Let me pop this up. And this is about that guy who I guess has become famous off of it, Sassy or Saucy Santana. I don't know if you guys, y'all think I'm kidding. This video went viral because I don't know if Saucy Santana labeled himself as a transgender or just a gay male. But yeah. Now, this is crazy, and because I know the racist Megyn Kelly, she did a video on that. This is crazy. And even the coon Roland Martin came out and said something about this. Y'all remember this? No voting, no bucking. Do you guys remember the lyrics of this song? They had Trina and they had this guy Saucy Santana. Look here, let me just blow this up. Fair use for commentary purpose and use only, okay? For commentary and informational uses only. I'm gonna play this a little bit. I can't do it. I'm glad it's messing up. I just can't do it. I can't do it, family. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I just can't do it. But this is what they put on to Black folk. Okay, this is what they put on for Black folk for you to vote Democrat. They put on no voting, no bucking. And then they had Kamala Harris come on TV and say, no, anything that we do for Black America, we can do for the rest of the country. And as we just comb through an hour worth of information and legislation that the Biden-Obama administration have passed for all these other groups that say Black Americans. But we get a video. And didn't Juvenile do a video too? They like, these Black Americans love rap music and they love family. This is how they're getting our vote. They're giving us music videos to get our vote. not tangibles, music videos. They're like, black people love music videos. And then when they try to get black people to go out here and take the vaccine, this is what they did. They got Juvenile, and he was talking about vax that thing up. Be aware of the entertainment class in black society. These are the other, not all, but these are the other paid in for bootlicks that these political people get in bed with to promote voting for one party or another. Because they know that black people are so musically inclined and that we would rather follow entertainers and athletes versus people of substance instead of black and intellectuals and black grassroots candidates who are fighting on the better half of black America. This is what we get. We get vax that thing up. We get no voting, no bucking. We get, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. We get all of these non-tangible, denigrating, degenerate, lowbrow sort of propaganda to attract the black vote. Family, let's just, can we be smart on one thing? Can we be smart on one thing? It's time out for all of this bullshit that they keep pushing towards the black community to get our vote. We're asking for this. We're asking for what we are owed. I want everybody to get on board. I know there's not a lot of people, oh, no, man, you know, what about black on black crime? Shut your dumb ass up. There's white on white crime, Hispanic on Hispanic crime, Asian on Asian crime. It has to do with proximity killings. And if you look at the record, there's more white crime than black crime. So I just want people to shut the hell up with that narrative. Just stop it. And then if you go to any country, let me give you a conflicting and contradicting statement with this. If you go to any country and you take a large group of people who have been oppressed for hundreds of years, who's been enslaved, who has been denied opportunities and resources, who lives in the low poverty, dilapidated areas, I want you to look at their crime rates. I want you to look at their crime rate. I want you to go to Asia, and I want you to look in the slums in China. I want you to look at the slums in India. I want you to look at the slums in Brazil. I want you to look at the slums in London. You go to any place in the world, and a group who have been suppressed and oppressed, and their resources and their opportunities have been wiped away. I want you to look at their crime rate. So please stop saying black on black crime, family. That is a white supremacist narrative that majority of black Americans are criminals. Where I stated that 47% of black Americans are in the middle class, while another 10% is in high class. And then you probably got like a 0.5% who are millionaires and billionaires, but we're already at 57%. So that doesn't tell you that majority of black Americans are in the criminal class. We're just painted by this mass media agenda that black people are committing the most crimes here in America. About most crimes here in America. And when you know about mass killings and mass shootings, what community that comes from? Exactly. But what they try to do is they try to take gang violence and map that as mass shootings in the sense that they are. But when we're talking about this gruesome, this inhumane acts, the majority coming from the white community by these white supremacists that go out and directly target black people. But don't forget, let me just, one more thing before I get out of here, family, one more thing, because I want to back up all my claims, okay? I want to back up all my claims here. The FBI crime, Give me 1 second. I'm going right to it. Family. Give me a second. That's not it. Give me a second. Because I don't want you to take my word for it. Where we at? Let's see. Trying to get statistics here. They say that when it came to hate crimes, that roughly 60% had to do with your race. Let's see if they break it down. By race. Here we go. Okay, Okay, this is not it. Give me a second. Let me see if I can find this. Here we go. I think I found it. Give me 1 second. I just want I just want to show, I want to show and prove the claims I made here. Okay. Let's look at this. Give me a second. And information is all over the internet. Okay. I'm going everywhere except the place I need to be. Okay. Here we go, family. Here we go. And here's my reference. Department of Justice, 2020 FBI hate crime. They also have for 22 as well, but I'll have to comb through the information. Here we go. What did I say? Let me get off camera. Here we go. Anti-Black. 2019 and 2020, we had an influx. Wait a minute. What happened in 2019 and 2020? Can anybody tell me? Raise your hand if you know. What happened in 2019 and 2020? Oh, the COVID-19 anti-Asian hate crime bill, because they had an increase from 666 to 869. So we're looking at 203 increase. Wait a minute. Let me get my calculator. You know how I use my calculator, family. You know how I use my calculator. Here we go. So that's a 2871, okay, minus 1,930. Oh, wait a minute. So their hate crimes went up 203, while Black Americans' hate crimes went up 941. Black Americans' hate crimes went up 941 from 2019 to 2020. But Asian Americans got a hate crime bill. Good for them. But where's our hate crime bill? And this is my stance on why our black tails will stay our black tails at home. I don't care what the Democratic Party does and try to attract black voters. What can we do? Well, Jim Clyburn, he always do a yearly fish fry to get South Carolina out. What can we do? You know what? We're going to have a national barbecue. Yeah. We're going to have a national barbecue for black folk. And we're going to invite Saucy Santana, Trina. We're going to get them back. They're going to do a duo. And we're going to get Juvenile so they can back that vote up. They're going to back that vote up. We're going to tell them, get to the booth, and everybody, you back y'all vote up, we're backing y'all vote up. And if you're not voting, black women, tell your black men, no fucking, meaning no having sex, right? Because that's how you're going to encourage people to vote. And here's another thing. They came out with, I didn't want to go this long, but I got to go here. The wealth gap decrease when it came to black women. This is called gender divide. Let me get this out of here. When you do some programming in there, let me get this out of here. Where is it at? Where is that story at? I had it up earlier. See, wealth gap decrease, and I'm gonna type in black women. This is how they started the gender divide, family. I had the news story up here earlier. Somehow, you can't improve black women's health, being black women and pay gap. Is this it right here? I had it up earlier though. I had this up earlier where they decreased. They had a story. I forgot where it came from, so I won't stay here long. But they were saying how America basically helped black women to decrease the wealth gap between them and white Americans, right? Let's see. The study focuses on wealth gap, black women's relationship with the blah, 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 blah. But yeah. It was a black woman had 90%, have a 90% wealth gap. But yeah, anyway, I can't find. I had it up. I don't know what happened, but it was basically stating that America has decreased the wealth gap between white Americans and black women, and that's a narrative that would be pushed to again encourage black women to vote Democrat and to divide the black vote. Okay, if you guys ever read The Art of War, divide and conquer. Let's divide the black woman who has been highly educated, who has gotten funding and loans and grants, okay, and send them off to college and have them to work in corporate America, okay? So that was a narrative that was pushed to have black women to be more masculine, okay? Because let's just keep it real. When you're in corporate America, family, you have to be, you will become masculine as a female. Any woman would tell you if she has the right consciousness. Then secondly, let's tell them how bad the black man is. Let's tell them that black men are part of the patriarchy. When have black men ever been part of the patriarchy? Okay, we're the most incarcerated. We're the most criminalized. we're the most killed in the street. So whatever patriarchy that black men are in, please let me know because I'm not benefiting from it. Okay. Let's propel black women in politics. Let's put them in high places with their face, meaning let's continue to push this symbolic narrative to, again, divide and conquer black men from black women. Let's also push on TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat, Clubhouse, fan base, all social media about the divester movement. Let's start to push that divester movement of black women being with non-black men. Let's push that narrative. Yeah. We already know that black men, they divested to a certain degree a long time ago, but let's really attack the black woman. Let's do that. Now, let's feminize the black man and have them to coincide with the black woman. So black women encourage the behavior of the LGBT community, but when you have that, who's going to be your protection? And I don't just mean physical protection. Okay, who's going to carry those heavy bags? See, here's the thing. You can't have it both ways. None of us can. None of us can. None of us can neglect our beautiful black women. None of us can abuse them and talk down to them and do all these negative things for them, and then in return have them to support us. But we have to understand the political agenda that's being pushed to the black community by the way of the black woman, making black women the head of the household. This is the exact same thing that they did during slavery time when they made Big Mama, okay, head of the plantation. They used to whoop the black men, the big, burly, dark-skinned black men who be out there in the fields. They whooped them in front of the women and then gave women the power over the man. A lot of these methods and strategies that the system of white supremacy, they're not new. They're very, very old. They just kind of reworded them. They reconformed them. And then once again, push on the black community. It's kind of like redlining, for a good example. It's kind of like redlining because now from redlining, what do you have? Gentrification. Just another name for redlining. Getting black people out the black community and spreading them across. We don't want black people to gather in one place. Those are gangs, okay? Those are not communities. Those are just large gangs. You see what I'm saying here? So that's what gentrification dispersed the black community. And by dispersing the black community and spreading them across all these different other demographics, then we can't unify and organize and have any power. So when you're in a lot of these districts and you're trying to vote for grassroots causes to make your community better, you have all these other people from all these other communities who are voting for their best interests. So why do you think they're dropping off Hispanics and black community? Because they're going to change the voting base of black Americans. They're changing the voting base of black Americans. And you would like to believe this is a Republican agenda. Well, let me tell you, the evidence points to Democrats. Yeah. And guess who did that? We did that. Like I stated before earlier, Malcolm X stated that the Negro is politically immature. Well, Malcolm X, I would like to tell you that your people are becoming politically mature and it's time out. There you have it, family. You guys have a great and wonderful day.